You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this short episode, we're talking to Jim Karl about VHS collecting. Here we go. Welcome back to the Fan2Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Bernie Gonzalez. With me, as always, fellow co-host Pete Charbonneau. And some time ago, we had the pleasure of speaking with Jim Karl, who's the Senior Director of Programming at the Carolina Theater in Durham, North Carolina. Jim's passion for cult classics and hidden gems as kind of manifested through his retro film series that he curates for the theater is very much on display. In the two-part conversation we've had with Jim, we kind of talked about his history, behind-the-scenes stories about bringing the films to the big screen, from the process of getting the rights to show the movies, to curate and program movies for different generations, not just people that may have grown up with 80s movies, but for a modern generation and trying to make it appealing to them. But in that conversation that Pete and I had with Jim shared that he had quite an extensive VHS collection. And because we've been talking about physical media, we just thought we'd share that segment where Jim shares a little bit about his days collecting video cassettes.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look behind me, you'll see these shelves that are here on the corner. I used to have an entire spare bedroom that had the entire 3 to 4 walls of the room were covered in just those shelves. And I had about 1,500 VHS tapes that I finally had to pare it down. And I have what's here, and I have a couple here up on the shelf. Not a lot. A couple up on the top row. I see Superman 2. I see Maxie with Glenn Close, stuff like that.
I'm assuming that your collection, Jim, grew organically. Movies that you sought out, movies in the discount sale, we got to get rid of bins at your respective mom and pop video store?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the mid 80s. That's when I was in high school, and I went to college. And that's about the same time that video stores, I mean, in the early 80s, VHS were still full price. You know, they were still $100, $80. It was rare. And it wasn't really until about the mid 80s, we're talking like 86, 87, that VHS started getting sold at the video stores used. Extra copies were being sold off. And that's when you could start buying them, even then, for like $20, $30. I mean, it didn't really start getting down to like the $4.99s. That didn't happen until a long time later.
The things we put up with at the movies. But National Video, with more stores than anyone, gives you more of the latest movies than anyone at low prices in the comfort of your own home. And the popcorn's on us instead of on you. So bring the stars home tonight with National Video, because the best seat in the house is at your house.
I was in college, and I used to go to the video stores all around the state and buy VHS tapes. And then I was back at the dorm. All of my friends would come and borrow VHS from me and use me as the video library for the dorm. I had hundreds of VHS tapes at that point, but I kept them back home at my parents' house. And I only brought with me the ones that I figured people would want to watch. But I was always buying stuff nonstop.
Did you charge your friends a membership? I remember like the early days of mom and pop stores, you had to get a VHS membership.
I really should have, because I lost a lot of those tapes. No, but I would make them check them out because I couldn't keep track of who had what. So I had little index cards where I would write down the name of the film and who checked it out on what day, and I keep them in a little box, so that I would at least know a couple of weeks later when I'm looking for something who had it last.
Have you always been a physical media person, either growing up with books or comics to VHS to now Blu-rays or what have you?
Well, I've phased out of it now that I'm older because it's just too much to keep up with. But when I was younger, yeah, I used to collect VHS. I used to collect movie posters. I used to collect programs and TV guides and magazines and things like that. And I still have a lot of that. But as time's gone on, I stopped collecting movie posters. Now I only buy 1 or 2 a year for the ones that I was missing that I never had in the first place that I'd like to have. And I've stopped buying physical media for the most part. Every now and then, if something comes along, like a King Kong 1976 steelbook with the original TV theatrical cut on it, I'll buy that. But it's rare. It's rare that I'll buy anything physical media. Nowadays, I basically, even though I have something on Blu-ray, and if I see it on discount for $4.99 on some streaming service, I'll buy it.
You've never really been a big physical media person, at least in the time that, we've kind of gotten to know each other, right?
Yeah, that's what Jim and I were talking about that before you jumped on a little bit about that. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of having it, but for me, it's random. Like Jim, you mentioned King Kong 76. Like I have randomly one of the King Kong like drinking glasses that you got from Burger King back in 76. I've got that.
King Kong on King Kong glasses. Get one free at Burger Chef when you buy a Big Chef or Super Chef large fries and a large serving of Coca-Cola. Or get one with purchase of a regular size Coke at a special price. King Kong glasses. Get all four for your kids. You want a straw?
You get what you like at Burger Chef.
But I don't have to seek out the latest release and like the 5-disc set or anything like that. Like I get my joy comes out of going to the theater and like experiencing these things on the big screen with an audience. Like right now and not just right now, but ever since I was a kid, I've talked about many times on this show, in my pajamas running through the parking lot to see Star Wars for the first time at the drive-in, trying to get my parents back into the station wagon as the lights were flickering. That's what started it for me, and that continues to this day is really just being in the theater for that experience. That's my love.
And what's funny is that today I'm having a struggle. I'm struggling real hard to not cave into the temptation now that everything is 4K to buy a 4K TV. I struggled even let's say 10 years ago when they came out with those 3D TVs and you could watch Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I kind of want that. And I didn't. And that's the same thing now with the 4K. It's like I see these thumbnails on YouTube where they're reviewing the new 4K of Exorcist 2, The Heretic. And I'm like, ooh, I really want that. I want it.
Maybe not Exorcist 2, Jim. There is a bridge too far.
It might be a better film to kind of, give into that time.
But you know what I mean? It's kind of like I do struggle sometimes. You ask me about physical media, and I'm like, yeah, I don't do it. But at the same time, it's not that I'm not tempted. I am tempted to start over from scratch with everything all over again with 4Ks, but I'm not going to.
It's funny you say that, Jim, because I think there's an interesting Venn diagram with those of us that have collected physical media, in whatever form, and nostalgia.
Yeah.
If you kind of take out the audio and cinephiles that absolutely need the 4K version, it seems like a lot of the boutique labels have kind of really made their hay by going after those deep cuts, those movies that never got a quote unquote like proper release.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned, putting something in a maybe prettier bow with a steel book, or putting special features that for the most part, like it's a movie that you may have seen a dozen or so times on cable through its various iterations from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray. But all of a sudden now you have a feature length DVD exclusive interview with all the folks behind the making of John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. Well, if that's not on the other versions I have, now I'm buying the Shout Factory In the Mouth of Madness release because I have to have it. But it feels like that's almost in tandem with nostalgia, where you might have already owned a copy of it. And again, you're talking about your walls. You did own a copy of it, but now they're showing you this other thing, that they're dangling this in front of you, Jim, that's just tempting you to buy it.
I'll be honest. I bought into the whole commentary thing back in the late 90s when it was a new, fresh, young thing. The idea that all these people were going to be talking and giving you the behind the scenes scoops. And what's funny is that it was enjoyable for up to a certain point, but as I've gotten older, I found it less and less interesting, to be honest, to hear the DVD commentary tracks, to the point where like I said, now I buy everything on streaming where I don't even have that as an option anymore. And I don't miss it. I really don't. I mean, there are some nice tidbits to have. with DVD commentaries. And if that's your thing, power to you. It's just not mine anymore. It was for the longest time. That used to be a big sale, but just because something's coming out nowadays at a fancy new box with a new commentary is not going to get me to buy it.